Greetings. This is Atma Bodha, and today is December 8th, 2021, and the topic of today's episode is the widest path to enlightenment is the superior one. And the reason I'm doing this topic is to follow up on the last podcast, which talked about what is different about this path, and that is a very important difference. In wanting to make this as accessible to as many people as possible, there is intentionally fewer rules, because this is not about being some kind of religion whereby you have set dogma to follow or set diet to follow. You're not required to be a vegetarian, for example. Also, there are no rules regarding premarital sex or have anything to do with sex. This is entirely your body, and you have control over what you want to do with your body. What you'll find is that once you become closer and you feel more inspired and you feel more love, the sexuality that you are involved with becomes a celebration of love, and it becomes less about having a weakness of desire or feeling incomplete without it, because you can be complete and feel complete without having the sexual aspect. You know, being a young child, for example, is full of joy and exuberance. And in many ways, this path is like the Bible saying to be like a child to enter the kingdom of heaven. And that is true. An aspect of children is to be in the moment and be in the present. And that is a common characteristic of many people who consider themselves spiritual. And so, one flaw of the past with other traditions, and not to, be disrespectful of other beliefs and other religions, is many times the path that they propose is a bit too narrow and too difficult. Maybe it involves renouncing all of your worldly ambitions and becoming a monk and donning monk's robes and walking the world living off of the alms of others, and that's perfectly fine. But to say that you cannot become enlightened unless you become a monk, or unless you take certain vows of chastity and certain dietary restrictions and forbidding yourself of every intoxicant or, how do I say? Just by the point here is that it's not about the restrictions that you place upon yourself that can bring you to the path, to the endpoint of enlightenment. In fact, there is no endpoint of enlightenment, but when you cross that threshold to enlightenment, that is a new beginning for you. And to cross that threshold of illumination, it's not about restricting anything in your life. You don't have to limit yourself. In fact, the opposite is true. It's when you remove your limitations, when you remove your self-limiting beliefs, when you remove every belief that constrains you and confines you, that is the opposite of rules, okay? So, oh my gosh. sometimes I just have to laugh because it's ironic that what should be the most liberating experience possible, and that is what's called spirituality. On many of these paths, they make so many rules that it's so easy to fail. In fact, it could be argued that maybe it's designed to make you fail in some cases. But if the path that you're on is so narrow that very few people actually make it to a permanent state of bliss and love, then why follow it? If the same people that you are learning from, or the people that are the head of whatever organization that is espousing these spiritual disciplines, if they themselves are not coming from a place of absolute resilience and illumination, then obviously you're not going to get there either, okay? I'm looking and I'm trying to find who out there has opened up that 1,000-petaled lotus of the crown. Who has opened that up? Because that is the secret to experiencing ultimate truth, is you want to reach that top energy center and have that open up for you. And from that place is where this ultimate objective absolute truth can descend and penetrate your mind and immerse your mind in this symbiosis of bliss. And I have not seen, I would love to meet someone else that has opened that. I've not seen that yet. I have not seen that in any of the spiritual teachers that make themselves available online. And I would love to see them. And I want there to be more of them. And that's why I've come out to talk about this and to help others, because that is the ultimate. It's like historic. It's like if you can get to that place, that's what everybody wants. It's like when you have that, it feels like you have this secret within you that everybody wants, but they don't know it yet. And it's not about boasting. It's like, wow, this is so amazing. It's like, I want this for everybody. And you don't want to hide in the shadows and or in a cave or on a mountain. So anyway, the point here of this message is the widest path to enlightenment is the superior one. The path that is not so narrow, that doesn't have so many rules and restrictions, the path that is easy for everyone to follow, and they don't have to make any sort of sacrifices. Why is that superior? Because the more people it can make enlightened, and the more efficient it is, at the end of the day, it's kind of like if you have a school. Let's say you have a university. Right now, universities, they cannot confer upon people enlightenment. They can give them PhDs and master degrees and bachelor degrees, but there is no university is going to make you enlightened. Believe me, if they could, they would, and they would charge you a lot of money for that, I'm sure. They'd be like, oh, you want enlightenment? That's our special package, only available to the political elite and the tech mogul titans. Yes. But actually it's for everyone. And that's what's amazing about this. You don't have to have money. You don't have to have political connections or you don't have to know special people. All you need to do is just adjust how you perceive yourself with your beliefs and come from a place of unlimitedness and discovering that unlimitedness. And when you do, you start to realize other truths. And so that's a huge, huge difference in terms of making it the widest path. I have, this path welcomes everyone, whether it be regardless of sex or race or politics. It's for every individual, especially the individuals that want to be more of an individual, those that don't want to conform to any ideology, to those who are renegades and independent thinkers that, like a wolf, will join a pack, but that doesn't mean that they're any less independent. You can be a lone wolf and still be a part of this. It's nothing here is about trying to tell you to think a certain way or to believe a certain way, but only to remove self-imposed limitations. And so you might say, okay, well, isn't that kind of a belief that you need to remove self-imposed limitations? Well, yes, it is in a way, but it's also common sense. It's like saying, hey, if a mosquito is on your arm, then maybe it's a good idea to flick it off. It's the same sort of logic. So the point here is, okay, let's give you an example of removing a limitation. Like believing that you are limited and that you are just your body, that is a limiting belief. That's a self-limiting belief. Whereas if you believe that you are unlimited and that you are more than just your body and more than just your mind, and that there's greater aspects of you that you can discover for yourself, there's nothing limiting about that concept. Another thing people are triggered by is the concept of a higher truth or an objective truth. Partly that's been ingrained on people's consciousness just because of a negative perspective that they have on the concept of God that has been perpetrated by certain religions as being a judgmental God. And so they feel a bit threatened by that concept that there could be a higher power. But actually the reverse is true. Believing in a higher power is not a limiting belief, but that is a belief that removes your limitations. Because if you believe that everything is all interconnected and there's nothing that you can perceive that isn't already a part of you in some way or another, why limit a part of you that is more powerful? If there is such a thing as a higher power, well, guess what? That becomes a part of you. And if that's a part of you, it's like, oh my God, does that mean you can experience this higher power for yourself and not feel like it's something separate from you, but is it just another part of you that you can have? Do you understand how powerful that is? Okay, a big secret, like I've talked about for ages, about resilience. You cannot have, and I can't stress this enough, you cannot have equanimity of mind, you cannot have objectivity, true objectivity, without having objective truth, without having the concept of objective truth. Otherwise, if you don't have that concept of objective truth, you will be blown about in the cosmic winds. It's like there's no purpose to life. I mean, yes, you can follow your heart, but if you follow your heart and you believe there's no objective truth, then life kind of becomes purposeless. Yes, you can say, oh, it's all about play, it's all about dance, about the cosmic dance, and just enjoy life. And yes, you can do that if that's all you want. But if you want to find a higher purpose, a deeper purpose, there is a deeper purpose that you can get in touch with. And you can become, instead of a weakened person, and I know that triggers people too. They think, well, I'm not so weak. It's like, okay, so let me ask you a question. If you're not weak, when's the last time you've felt angry or had a bad mood? Or when was the last time that someone on Reddit really pissed you off or upset you, or you felt triggered by something? If you could answer no to all of that, like, okay, if you can answer honestly that nothing triggers you and that you can go for weeks at a time without having a negative mindset or a negative mood or feeling any sort of pain or doubt or anxiety or fear, and that's your reality and you don't have those things, then yes, I could say, well, wow, that's great if you can do that. That's the goal. But I would say that it's impossible to get that goal if you do not have your mind focused and connected with some kind of higher truth, whether it be God, whether it be your faith in whatever religion that you may follow. But it's only by having the concept that there is something greater out there that you can connect with, that you can have symbiosis with. That is what can make it so that you can become more empowered and perpetually inspired and unperturbed by external events. Because as long as other outside events can affect you, you're not being strong. Yeah, you might be considered human. You might say, well, that's just a characteristic of humanity. Humans are up and down sort of creatures. It's unrealistic to expect to be so strong. It's like other people can't do that. You must be deluded. You must have the problem. I get that sometimes. So the widest path to enlightenment is the superior one, because that means that more people can arrive at that place of having equanimity of mind, of having resilience, of experiencing perpetual bliss in the mind region and heartfelt, unconditional love in the heart region. And by having a path that's based solely on having a philosophy and incorporating that philosophy into your life and having it not be a religion, but instead be a way of thinking that also happens to be spiritual, that falls in line with basic principles of Stoicism and Stoic wisdom of the Stoic sage, but also balances it out with the yogic philosophy and elements of Zen and Taoism, and even there's some similarities to Christianity with the Holy Spirit and redemption. And it doesn't matter what bad things you think you did in the past, no one is beyond redemption. There is an element of good in everyone. And so by having this be the widest path, that means everyone is accepted, whether it be a criminal, whether it be any sort of character that is shunned by society is also welcome on this path, because it is a path of liberation and redemption. You can be born again into something new. You can shed off the identity that you carried before, the burden that you had before. You can shed all that off and be accepted without compromise and forgiven. And it's like you can emerge like the phoenix from the ashes and be born anew with a new life and glorious, triumphant immersion of love and truth and inspiration. You can taste that and experience that and have that be your daily reality, no matter what you did in the past. You can become a new person. You can redeem yourself, and all is forgiven. Anyway, we're coming to a close here of this one, and this is the widest path to enlightenment is the superior one. This is Atma Bodha signing out. Until tomorrow, peace, love, truth.